Hey, really good to see you. Wow, what a time we're in. And I'm getting a lot of questions regarding shadow work and inner work and what each one is and why it's even helpful, necessary, or why it's a great time to do it. So, we are in a period of scorpion energy, and it's a time when just stuff kicks up. And oftentimes we find ourselves diving into the ash and rising up out of it. And I equate that with doing shadow work. And shadow work to me means taking a look at that icky, sticky stuff that we don't really like to take a look at. It can be shame, and it can be feelings of embarrassment or how we deeply judge others and what our immovable beliefs are in that arena. And it tends to be stuff that you and I deny. We want to sweep it under the carpet, or we've used addictions of all types to hide. I mean, for me, it was compulsively working out and cleaning compulsively. So it's it's an aspect of myself that I consider bad or unacceptable. And it can also be, my anger and my pettiness and my jealousy and my rage and my negative projections. So all of that stuff is what I look at when I'm doing shadow work. And if this stuff is left unchecked, it can really blow up. It can cause addictions to go out of control. It can cause me to isolate. It can cause me to live in a reality that has nothing to do with what's really going on. And that's why it's important for me to continue to do shadow work as the need arises. Initially, I noticed I needed it because I was repeating behaviors or acting out behaviors that I said that I would never do. And it really went against my grain and lacked the integrity that I wanted to live. And when that comes up, I know, ooh, it's time, it's time to go within and explore these feelings that are uncomfortable. And then notice and accept, my judgments that I have of another. And initially it was hard to uncover it because I was so defended and I was so sort of unconscious and not aware. Um, and I really had to dig deep to find it. Now I can pretty much catch it, in the moment. I can see, I can feel when my shoulders are starting to crimp up to my earlobes, or my skin is, feeling that red heat. I can feel when, I'm feeling fear, or when I'm envious and I'm resentful. And so I want to integrate those shadow parts so they don't unconsciously control my day, my month, my year, my life. And the more I'm cognizant and aware of the shadow piece of me, which is natural, it's part of being a human being walking this planet. And I believe these are all feelings we came to explore. Because I think maybe elsewhere they don't they don't hang around as much, but who's to say? Anyway, regardless, once I have the courage enough to stop down and really explore what they are and examine them and air them out and give them space and allow those wounds, to find healing, um, I find I live with more compassion, and there's more ease. So, and there's a whole process around how people do shadow work. They do it all sorts of different ways, but that's what I feel shadow work has been. And then you're asking, what is inner work and how does that relate to shadow work? So for me, inner work is a much broader category or term than shadow work. And it's really any practice that focuses on developing my self-awareness or my healing and my personal growth. And it can encompass shadow work and it can include practices that enhance, my positive aspects of myself, like mindfulness or self-compassion, certainly, or connection to source for me, or for to my higher self, which I really, am coming to rely on the more that I do the inner work. But it helps me discover my authentic values and my intentions, and then address the limiting beliefs that are keeping me back from inner peace, from wholeness, from living in comfort and a freedom, able to create abundantly like I'm supposed to. So I find doing inner work comes from meditation and mindfulness, or just being cognizant to develop awareness of what's going through my mind and how am I feeling, including how is my body feeling, and then maybe recognizing, okay, let me go inside my heart and feed the dog rather than prep the dog's meal and in a hurry because I've got to get back to work. No, like let me do this from a place of love. So that's a result of doing the inner work for me. And it's it's given me freedom from inner criticism, that inner critic that I think you have, that I certainly have. The volume has dialed down, and the self-doubt has dialed down, and that's a result from engaging in the personal development. And for me, I've used a lot of professionals. I've done all sorts of things. I've done all kinds of modalities, hui and not hui, traditional and non-traditional. Um, but again, the shadow work focuses on the more hidden and suppressed parts of myself that are often really associated with intense pain or discomfort that I'd rather shield through addictive, measures. I mean, that could be playing bingo on my iPhone or, just really simple stuff. And then the inner work is broader, and that's really including anything that fosters, self-knowledge and growth. And the shadow work aims to sort of integrate the darker pieces of me, where I can gain acceptance around them and those aspects of self, because that sort of denigrates the power behind these shadowy feelings, and judgments. And then the inner work is more about overall alignment with, self-acceptance and my own personal fulfillment. So both are really powerful paths to self-awareness and healing. And often, if you're practicing the inner work, it's going to lead you to doing shadow work because it's just going to bring that side up more. You're not, anxiously running, hiding, right? If you sit down in a formal meditation or you start to slow down the central nervous system enough to connect with nature, you're naturally going to get more in tune with what is your reality and what thoughts are really happening, and you slow down enough to look at it all. So, um, practicing the inner work leads me to naturally engage with the shadow work. And it really helps with soul evolution and living in a better place. And I think that's why we came here. It's certainly one of the reasons I came here. I know for a fact I would have never accepted the pathway I'm walking without there being some benefit. And you can find this work. You can do this work in many ways. It doesn't necessarily mean you need to hire a professional. I did because I believed in myself. I really felt I needed the help. I made the investment, and I'm really glad I did. And I continue to do that, even if I'm feeling like, yeah, no, maybe I don't. I feel like working with an expert in the field really helps support a solid platform in that arena. But there are many, many more free tools than there certainly were when I started. But I just want to say, really quiet yourself and go within and discern that 50-cent word. Here it comes again. Discern what is right and valuable for you, what gives you value. And I am going to welcome you to a complimentary grounding activation with me. When it fits your schedule, go to susangold.us. There's a link in the site where you can schedule a grounding activation, because within that 30-minute session, you will calm your nervous system down enough that you will feel so much better, and you'll get your your marching orders. You'll sort of be back on the planet and have more assurance as far as what direction you want to head in next. And that's a free tool. And there's also a free resource in a course that talks about awakening your inner power. So some of the inner work and examples of the inner work is what's touched upon in that 3-section free course that's also on susangold.us. Because believe me, I know, I have been there. I've faced addiction and walked through it. I've been clean probably since before you were born. And I've also faced clinical depression. And I no longer take medication after a 10-year bout of on and off dealing with that. And then ultimately narcissistic abuse, walked my way through that. And I'm feeling so much better, but still continuing on this path to find sovereignty. Because when you're engaged in toxic systems, which I think I'd be hard pressed to find a single individual that has not experienced some type of toxicity within their upbringing or their daily life today. When you're engaged in that, you cultivate a malignant obedience, and you give up your power, and you give away your discernment. And I'm here to say you are one of the brightest, most brilliant, ebullient creatures, excuse me, in the entire universe. I mean, there's a reason we're under siege. So, and there's never been a better time to get in touch with your own inner power. And we do this through doing the inner work and doing the shadow work. So you know what that means now. So really glad to be here together this week. It's ever more important that we know we are in this together. I hope you're feeling kindness, gentleness, and compassion in this very moment. And I look forward to seeing you next time. Take good care.